Welcome to the City of Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing for November 27th. Just a reminder, the meeting will occur in person here at the City Council chambers. Also, people can join remotely, virtually by phone and email and Zoom by registering ahead of time with development services. And just also a reminder, if you have a cell phone or electronic device, please shut it off or put it on vibrate so it does not disrupt the meeting. Also, if you're coming to the lectern, please state your name and address for the public record. All right, going to continue business. We have ZBA-2023-29, petition of the variance. The applicant is Gladys Cruz, property located at 730 to 732 Lawrence Street. The applicant has applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals, seeking variance approval to convert the existing structure at 730 to 732 Lawrence Street from a two-family to a three-family. The subject property is located in traditional mixed-use TMU zoning district. The proposal requires variance approval per section 5.1 for relief from the minimum lot area per dwelling unit and minimum usable open space per dwelling unit requirements per section 6.1 for relief from the minimum off-street parking requirements and any other relief required in the Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir. You want to just tell us about your updates you have for us?
Sure. Hushman Afshar from Taj Engineering LLC, 225 Stedman Street, Lowell, Massachusetts.
Sir, we need you to speak in the microphone, please, because it's being recorded and no one can hear you. So, if you can take the microphone out. If that's you can take the microphone out if you need to do it. I guess not. Never mind. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So before I start reviewing the plan, I would just like to read one or two sentences from the letters that we have received from Deputy Chief, Fire Chief, Division Head, Mr. Robert Crabtree. In his letter, of course, he asked for a separate electrical meter and a smoke detector and CO detectors and so on and so forth. And then he also mentions that the scope of the project does not seem to require a sprinkler system at this time unless they decided to renovate more than 50% of the building, which of course the applicant is not planning to do that. And then of course he talks about the regular inspection by the fire department. Also, I would like to read part of one or two sentences from this letter from City of Lowell Building Commissioner, Mr. David Fuller. The third floor is finished as a third unit and has been for some time. Secondary means of egress is existing and code compliant. And so on and so forth, which I believe, I'm sure you have received these letters too. Going back to the plan, we added to the site plan the table of relief that basically shows the waivers that we are requesting. And also we added a few pictures of the site that shows the fire department across the street and the striped area, which there is all covered with this traffic barrel. So it's very clear that you cannot park here. I mean, physically and also by the pavement markings, and in addition to that, again, by the arrows on both sides of the street. This is across the street where the fire department is, and this is where the fire department is, and this is across the street and where the subject property is located. And of course, this is the one parking that we talked about before, where we are permitted and the applicant pays fees to the city. This picture generally shows the ceiling, that there's a flat ceiling, and then the roof starts and goes all the way towards exterior walls. So there is no knee wall per se, but the roof continues all the way to the exterior walls all around. The general ceiling height is 7 foot 10 inches, and this shows where we measured all the 5 foot heights for the ceilings. The other good news is that last week we had our meeting with the planning board, and they approved the project unanimously. What we added to the floor plans, you see these dashed lines here. We did submit this plan before. These dashed lines here, this is where the 5 foot ceiling height ends, and basically it becomes lower till it gets to the exterior wall of the building. At that point, the height is about 2.5 to 3 feet. But basically, these are the areas. It's open, but if you like to call it dead space, you can. So all the measurements for the floor area is shown to the dashed area where the ceiling height becomes 5 foot and less than 5 foot. We have already said that, and also the building commission mentioned, there are 2 means of egress to all the floors, and with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir, for the summary and presentation of your project. Now we're going to open up the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? All right, seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. We're going to open questions, comments to the board. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I think the concept of the project is a good idea. Add in additional housing, which the city desperately needs. My concerns are, especially in the back central neighborhood, we're looking for 4,500 feet of relief on lot area. The lot is 3,000 square feet. So we're looking for more relief than the entire lot presents as is. The parking is a very big issue, especially in back central. I know the petitioner has a reserved spot, so we're looking for 5 additional spots. I was just down there today, and the neighbors on both sides of the street also have reserved spots. So I don't know where that overflow of parking is going to end up. I don't want it on the side streets because those are already tight as it is. And, you know, especially now we have winter coming up, so you have to think of when we're trying to clear streets, this has absolutely no place for anybody to park. And it's a major concern, not only in the city, but especially in back central. Along Lawrence Street, there's no additional parking. Again, I think the concept's great. I just don't know how we get to ignoring the problems that I see with this. I mean, we're talking about density in certain neighborhoods, and we're gonna address relief of more than the lot area. It you know, I can't tell people how to do their own projects. I mean, it's a two-family house. I suppose you could make that second floor, second and third, just a larger unit, but to put an additional separate dwelling unit up there, it's difficult for me to conceive. But I'll listen to the rest of the members of the board, but this is, especially in this neighborhood, this is very concerning.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The chair recognizes Mr. Brier. Mr. Brier, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share the exact concerns that Commissioner Harvey just expressed. Nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brier. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the applicant for going back and revisiting the site plan and clearly noting what the relief being sought for the usable open space is, and revising the floor plans to show the 5-foot knee walls, which indicate the apartment is, the existing third floor, which is an illegal apartment at the moment, has relatively small rooms. They're not as large. The floor area with the 5-foot knee wall, 5-foot ceiling height, is 8 feet wide in many bedrooms. But in any event, the comments from the building commissioner are a little telling about this problem that we have in the city, because most likely this third floor has been occupied in the past. And without the enforcement of the city carefully watching over this, it could be occupied again in the future, whether we grant relief tonight or not. And it's a concern for sure, because this is a built space that is complete, that has 2 means of egress, that probably has a functioning kitchen, functioning bathroom, and for all likelihood has been occupied in the past successfully without detriment to the parking in the neighborhood, maybe. I was wondering if we could potentially put a condition of a 6-month administrative review to review parking, and see if in the 6 months from now, if we need a lease for off-site parking in order for this application to make sense. There's a lot of property nearby, Centennial Island Apartments, Lowell Housing Authority, and others, Watermill, I think, or Watermark, that may have space available for leasing parking. And so I agree that the relief is significant, and granting a variance for such relief is at odds with what we're intended to do as a board, but it is a built space, and we need apartments in the city, and it most likely has been occupied successfully without detriment to the parking in the neighborhood in the past. So I was wondering if the board might consider a condition that we have a 6-month administrative review to revisit parking and see if it really is necessary to have a leased space or 2 available off-site. No further comments.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. The chair recognizes the vice chairman, Mr. Callahan. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, through Mr. Chairman. I would be in agreement with Dennis about a possible 6-month administrative review on the parking, especially in light of, again, my concern on this from the previous instance was I had received communications from the fire department, from some of the firefighters across the street about the residents who reside in that building. I know it's not your clients. I know they just purchased the property, but there were some of the firefighters across the street had concerns about the residents in that that particular building as far as parking is concerned, as removing the barrels, parking in the fire lane, a lot of other things. I think one of the reasons we continued this was to try to get further comments from the fire department on the building itself, plus that. I know we did get comments about the building itself and what's going on interior design and whatnot, but nothing to that effect about the parking concerns. So, I'll just take that for what it's worth. Fran, can you confirm? I know they were looking for us. Not that I don't believe you, sir, but I just want to double check, make sure from the city that planning did grant the special permit for them for the third unit. Is that can that be confirmed or?
Let me double check.
Okay. No, while you're looking for that, but as far as the relief that's being sought, as far as the lot size, it is, you get a lot of big asks here. The lot size, 4,500 square feet of relief, but looking at the surrounding neighborhoods, surrounding buildings, they're all two families. They're all similar in size. The ones next door, we got, again, 3,000 square feet at 726, 728, 2,800 square feet at 718. You got even less, well, that's 714 is 708 square feet. Right next door at 742 is 3,100. So it seems to be, I can see that you have a hardship with regards to that, and that seems to be consistent with what the neighborhood is saying. I appreciate that you went back and got us information on the usable open space that wasn't provided previously, so that's good. It comes down to the parking again, and with only the one spot plus the fire department next door, I can see you have a hardship on that instance as well. So I guess presuming that the planning board did approve the existence of the third unit to be for the special permit for that, I think I could possibly look favorably on this, provided we do the administrative review with regards to parking, as Dennis had mentioned on this, because I want to see how if these continued issues that I've been hearing from the fire department, from that particular firehouse. Fran?
I confirmed that it was approved with one condition.
Okay.
And the condition says the third unit must be fully compliant with city code as noted by the building commissioner's comments.
Okay. All right. So, I would say conditioned on obviously abiding by the planning board's conditions. We'll adopt the planning board condition as well. And Dennis mentioned the 6-month administrative review. But I think this behooves your client to make sure that whatever tenants they have in there are really following up on the parking issue. Because again, I continually hear complaints from the firemen across the street at the fire department about that fire lane being breached. So that's a serious issue for me, because that's a safety problem. So, but I could see myself approving this with the conditions as mentioned. So, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. The chair recognizes Mr. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, the floor is yours, sir.
So, I agree with Mr. McCarthy as far as it's already a built unit, to be honest with you, so it would make pretty much sense to do something legal with it. Obviously, parking is always a concern with anything in the city. I like the idea of the leased space. It also gives somebody the freedom of knowing they have a parking spot, especially in the snow in the winter and stuff. Knowing the planning board approved it, I think it's a good thing. The city needs apartments, so that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Sir, thank you for the updated plans. I appreciate it. I know my colleagues do as well. to my colleague's point, I think I also agree that you do need significant relief for this variance. I do feel at ease in terms of you did get the planning board approval with their conditions, so I think that's a good thing. And tonight, there's no one in opposition. This existing structure, in my opinion, it's been used as the third unit. I'm sure people live there. I'm sure when new owners bought it, it was advertised as a third unit as well. So I think you and your clients are here to try to make things right and make things, in terms of making it by the book and making it official. So I appreciate that, and I'm sure my colleagues do as well. We need housing. Housing is a big need in the city. So for me, I think the reward kind of outweigh a lot of the issues here, in my opinion. So I'll be voting in favor myself. You heard about the conditions we talked about in terms of the 6-month administrative review for parking. So you're okay with that?
Yes, of course.
And also adopt a condition from the planning board as well. Please make sure your clients make sure that the tenants are really following up and parking where they're not supposed to be parking, and with the fire department and all that, because at the administrative review this permit can be taken back. So just make sure you're on top of the tenants and all that, and so there's no issues in terms of parking.
Sure.
If there's no other comments.
I do.
Mr. Harvey, go ahead, sir.
Sure. As far as the condition, I don't mind the condition, but there's already no parking over there, so how do we know who's parking where and what enforcement can we do on that? So if we approve this, there's 2 cars, how do we know there's no parking there? So how do we know where those 2 cars or who those 2 cars belong to? Because the petitioner, somebody might move in there with 0 cars, but the parking is still an issue over there, regardless of whether they have 2, 3, 4 cars or 0 cars. So how do we know person in apartment C has cars A and B? So how with an administrative review, are we going to be able to tell whose cars are the problem cars?
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Go ahead, sir. Do you want to?
Yeah, I want
Go ahead.
Regarding parking, as we discussed, last meeting and also at planning board meeting, amongst all the current residents of the building, they have only 1 car, 1 unit, 1 tenant. These are all low-income housing sponsored by Community Teamwork, Lowell Housing Authority, and they use public transportation. It's not wrong to say they cannot afford to have a car and the fuel and the insurance and so on and so forth. So amongst the current residents, there is only 1 car, and that's why there is 1 permitted parking space. Any new resident, any new tenant comes by, which is again it will be low-income housing, will be notified. It will be a known fact that there is no parking. You have no parking. You have a place to live, you have bedrooms, you have kitchen, you have bathrooms, everything, a building per the current code, building code, but you do not have parking. Do not expect parking, which basically means do not expect to have a car, expect to use public transportation. To my personal opinion, if it counts at all, it encourages use of public opinion and maybe carpooling. So, it was an illegal apartment before the current owner. They want to make everything legalized. They are visiting the site 2-3 times a week to maintain the cleanliness and so on and so forth. We did talk to the fire department across the street, and the main concern is 1 tenant currently, which I think this person is in the process of changing places, looking for a new accommodation anyway. And the main concern that what appeared to us was actually the cleanliness and the noise, which of course with the new ownership, that is all trying to get supervised and improved. But I don't know, they may put it even a condition in the lease, I'm not a lawyer, that no car.
And I appreciate the answer. And I'm not saying there's a parking issue with the current residents. I don't know. I get what you're saying, it's low income, but if you drive by low income housing in Lowell, there's plenty of cars there. So to say, well, it's low income, they won't have cars is one thing. And the other concern is, while I'm not predicting this will happen, this was recently purchased in June, I believe, right? This building? The new owner just bought this in June, right?
Recently, yes.
Okay. So if we approve this, we're not just approving this for the new owner. We're approving this down the line. So if the new owner sold this in 6 months, and I'm not saying they will, we have no control over who rents it from there on in. So we're approving no parking for now and beyond. There's no way to put the genie back in the bottle once we do it. The new owner may put something in the lease. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if you can do it, but that's neither here nor there, because this isn't just a today problem. This is, you got to see down the line, there's never going to be parking for this amount of cars. So that's my concern. I don't know the tenants now, so I don't know their, financial spot, whether they can buy cars or not. We're just talking about 5 potential parking spots that just aren't in that neighborhood, and that's my concern.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hovey. Mr. McCarthy, did you have any comments, sir?
If I could, I just want to maybe mention my experience with the 6-month administrative reviews in the past regarding parking. We're really relying on fire department across the street having issues, or the neighboring apartment buildings. Maybe there's people parking illegally in their parking lots that would raise it as a concern in 6 months. But the way I see this is that it's built, and it's probably been occupied in the past. Mm-hmm. And if it's not been an issue for the neighbors in the past, at least I would have expected neighbors in the past to have, if they had issues, to be at tonight's meeting to raise it as a concern. And I'm not hearing that or seeing any letters submitted. So I think a 6-month administrative review would be relying on the neighborhood to raise, if there are concerns, to raise them and to attend the 6-month administrative review, as I've experienced, at least with other 6-month administrative reviews, to speak on behalf of their concerns. And at that point, we would address them, whether it's through leased spaces offsite or whatever means.
Sure.
But I think that that's how it would be, in my mind, orchestrated.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Ms. Gallen, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's kind of one thing I was going to ask Fran, if it's possible, if we do approve this with a 6-month administrative review, if we reach out to the fire department at that time, if it's scheduled, just to make sure that if there's any continued issues. Sure. I know it wasn't mentioned in the comments today, but I'm just saying that I heard it from concerned firefighters at that building that there were issues with breaching that fire lane, and I still got to take it for what it's worth, even though they're not here and it wasn't mentioned in the comments. But it's a concern. It's an obvious concern. I appreciate Member McCarthy bringing up the 6-month administrative review as a kind of a carrot, and I think it is something to hold over to your clients, to make sure that their tenants,
sure,
are on this, and make sure that they do not, they do not violate these, the parking issues, because, again, I think that, like I said, that gets back to the safety issue for me. So, but I would like, if we could just make it, if you can just make a note of that, Fran, when we get the 6-month administrative review, to reach out to the fire department and ask them specific. I would think it would be more of asking them specifically about the parking, whether there's been any issues of parking over there with regards to breaching that fire lane. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Yeah, just also my experience with the 6-month administrative review. Again, this is part of the condition if you are approved tonight. And again, at the 6-month review, if we do see concerns or issues, especially in terms of parking and to my colleague's point of safety, this can be taken back. So I want to just remind you and your clients, okay, just to be on top of in terms of parking and just doing the right things. And with the fire department, it's a big safety concern.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a small request?
Go ahead.
Humble request. Will it be possible in that condition mention that any parking issue caused by number 730-732 residents? Because obviously the applicant doesn't want to be punished as a result of others.
Of course, yeah. No, this is specific to 730, 732 Lawrence. It's not.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's
Thank
not
you.
with the other neighbors or the other abutters or anything.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Any more comments from my colleagues before we move forward with a vote? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZBA 2023-29 for variances at 730 and 732 Lawrence Street, for variance to provide relief for minimum lot area per dwelling unit, minimum usable area, minimum usable open space per dwelling unit, and for relief for off-street parking, with the condition that the applicant, that we have a 6-month administrative review to review parking concerns for the applicant address 730-732 Lawrence Street, and that we adopt the planning board condition.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McCarthy, seconded by the Vice Chairman, Mr. Callahan. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve of conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Member Briere,
Approval.
Member Hovey,
Deny.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
All right, sir. You've been approved.
Thank you, sir.
Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck, folks. Thanks for coming out this evening. All right, moving on to our next item on our agenda. We have new business. We have ZBA-2023-40. The petition is a special permit. The applicant is New Singular Wireless. The address is located at 50 Summer Street. New Singular Wireless PCS LLC have applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals seeking a special permit approval to co-locate 12 panel antennas on the existing building at 50 Summer Street. The subject property is located in the urban mixed-use UMU zoning district. The project requires special permit approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals per section 7.6 and for any other relief required in the Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Edward Parry. It's P-A-R-E. I'm an attorney at Brown Rudnick, One Financial Center in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm here representing New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, which operates as AT&T. So AT&T is proposing to go up on the roof of the building at 50 Summer. It's owned by the Lowell Housing Authority, so it's sort of a win-win situation. Back in 2000, this board approved Nextel to install on the roof of the building through corporate mergers. Nextel merged with Sprint, which eventually merged with T-Mobile. They no longer have a need for the site and have removed their equipment. AT&T is actually going to install in its place. This was all done through a request for proposals issued by the Lowell Housing Authority. AT&T was awarded the opportunity to enter into a lease, which we did. So the Housing Authority will certainly receive the rental payments from AT&T if this is approved. As with all of the wireless facilities, it's The sectors, there are 3 sectors. Each has 4 antennas in it, and thereby the 12. In our negotiations with the Lowell Housing Authority, they sought camouflaging for the units. So if you take a look at our plans and photographs and photo simulations that we submitted with the application, we've actually designed canisters, which the antennas will be placed inside. Metal is the antithesis of radio frequency signals, so we need to use fiberglass. So they'll look like flues on the building. There'll be 9 of those. One of the sectors will be attached to the penthouse. We'll paint the antennas to match. And again, that was all in an effort to camouflage and basically make the antennas and equipment as invisible as possible. Because Sprint vacated the equipment room on the first floor, we're able to utilize that. Our cables will run down to the first floor into that equipment room. So we've designed it to minimize the visual impact. As you'll see from our materials, and I do have some folks here if there are particular questions, but AT&T does have a need. We provided a radio frequency report demonstrating that need on all of the roads in that area. We comply with the FCC requirements with respect to emissions, where less than 1/3 of the authorized emissions by the FCC. And with that, unless somebody wants more details, I'll end my presentation. We'd be happy to answer questions. As I said, we have our radio frequency engineer, Site Act folks, but I think this is exactly what the city's looking to do: use an existing structure, keep away from constructing towers. We show you how we satisfy each of the special permit standards. With that, I'll stop talking and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor, for your summary of the project. We'll open up the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. We're going to open questions and comments to the board. The chair recognizes Mr. Briere. Mr. Briere, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As an employee of the Lowell Housing Authority, I will respectfully recuse myself from this
All right.
petition.
Thank you, Mr. Briere. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very thorough presentation, very in-depth application materials. I was just wondering, is the shroud around the antenna, fiberglass shroud, is that a color? Is it white, or what color are we making that?
Actually, we're going to make it blend into the building itself. If you take a look at our photo simulations, we show you what the fiberglass canisters would look like. They can basically be any color, but I think it's kind of a yellowish, brickish, whatever they could be any color. They could be painted, or typically they go up in a white fashion. But from the photo sims, we're trying to match the building, and the housing authority has asked us to do that.
Great. So the intent is not to make them red or orange. The intent is to make them blend in.
The intent is to make them so nobody can
Yep.
see them, basically.
Yep.
They'll look like
Makes sense.
roof infrastructure, if you will.
Yep. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I saw from your map as to why that needs to take place there to help the signal. So it makes a lot of sense.
It's right in the middle of our bullseye where we're trying to provide coverage.
Great. I'm glad the building was there to help you. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. The chair recognizes the vice chairman. Ms. Callahan, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, very thorough presentation, and the application pretty much says it all. So, I mean, it makes total sense to me.
Thank you.
There's nobody in opposition. DPD has no issues with it, so I would be fully in support of this. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice. The chair recognizes Mr. Nickerson. Mr. Nickerson, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, no, this makes sense too. I mean, obviously, the day in technologies, after everybody going, Wi-Fi and Zooms and all that kind of stuff, it just makes more sense. So looking at this, yeah, I have no other comments.
Thank you, Mr. Nickerson. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
I have no questions or comments.
Oh, nothing. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. Yeah, Councilor, I think very detailed project information. I appreciate it. I know my colleagues do as well. And to me, this is a great upgrade, infrastructure and all that. That's what say needs, that's what we want. That helps a lot of people, so kudos to you guys. Yeah, so I think we'll go forward with the motion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZBA 2023-40 for a special permit at 50 Summer Street for a special permit under section 7.6.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Hovey. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve.
Member Callahan,
Approved.
Member McCarthy,
Approve.
Member Briere, Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
All right, sir. Wish you the best of luck. You would
Very
improve.
much appreciated. I appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening, folks. All right, moving on to our next item on the agenda under new business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Mr. Briere, go ahead, sir.
make a point of order, please.
Yeah, you have the floor, Mr. Briere. Go
The
ahead.
next three petitions on our agenda this evening all involve a component relating to the East End Social Club, of which I have had the privilege of serving as its president for the past 31 years. While I have no financial interest in the project, for obvious reasons, I do have a rooting interest and a fondness for this, and as a result, will respectfully recuse myself from participation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Briere. Thank you for your candor. We appreciate that, sir. All right.
Excuse me. Before Mark leaves, could I just pass something out to you all?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Marlowe. Thank you, sir.
We're currently in the holiday season, and I just wanted to point something out to you that how good the Zoning Board of Appeals can help people. And I've been in front of the board now 37 years. And the parcel in front of you was the first one I ever did. Back then, we had no technology. I did this in 1986. And a friend of mine, good friend of mine, approached me and asked me if he could help his sister. She was a single mom with 6 teenagers in that house, the big blue house, you see. It wasn't blue at the time. It used to cost her $2,000 a year to heat it. So I said, yeah, I think I can help her. So I took my Minolta camera, I laid down on the grass. She had a lot in the backyard on Whitney Avenue. I took a picture. And I went in front of the board, and the board granted her to build this small house. Now, I designed the house to fit the lot, didn't oversize it. 2-bedroom house. There was a walkout in the basement where they could add some extra space. All 6 children worked out. We got rid of the drafty old house. She sold it, and she was able to live there happily for about 30 years. It's a nice story. It had a big impact on this woman. Her son, one of her boys, became a master plumber and has been doing my plumbing for 25 years. These were all teens, and it was just a nice story where the Zoning Board of Appeals can really go out and do something that they don't always work out great. This is a home run. She now has sold the house and is living in not an assisted, but a over 55 community in Pelham, New Hampshire, and her kids are all successful. This is a true story of somebody that was struggling. This woman's name was Constance Jusam. She's part of the Jusams from Pawtucketville, and I just thought I'd share that in this holiday season with you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Marlowe.
I had a little more hair, and I could hear a little better back then, but We got the job done.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe. These are some great photos, so thank you. We know that you've done amazing projects in the city.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. Okay. All right. Moving on to our next item on the agenda, we have ZBA-2022-44, petitions of variance. The applicant is Peter Marlowe, property located at 14 West 4th Street, Building 3. Applicant has applied to the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, seeking a site plan review, special permit, and a variance approval to construct a 15-unit residential building at 14 West 4th Street. The subject property is located in the neighborhood business NB zoning district. The proposal requires site plan review approval from the Planning Board per section 11.4 for development with a greater than 3 residential units, and a special permit approval from the Planning Board per Article 12.1 and Section 11.3 for development with greater than 10 residential units. The proposal also requires a variance approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals per Section 5.1 for relief from the maximum height, lot area per dwelling unit, usable open space per dwelling unit, and rear yard requirements per Section 6.1 for relief from the minimum off-street parking requirements and any other relief required in Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, Mr. Marlowe.
Okay. So I purchased the East End Club this past February, and they now rent from me. And this was a project that we've been working on for 2 years. So I'm presenting 3 projects tonight separately, but they have interrelationships that need an introduction. The buildings are numbered 1, 2, and 3. Building 3 backs up to our existing building, 27 West 3rd, but the new building faces West 4th. Building 2 is on site of the existing East End Club. Building 1 faces West 5th Street, behind another building that I own on Bridge Street at the corner. I want to thank City Manager Tom Golden for his guidance and support. It couldn't have happened without him. I want to thank everyone in planning development. They've been indispensable. I also want to thank the ZBA and the Planning Board for your time and effort, the Lowell Fire Department for the guidance, and the Centerville Neighborhood Association, who have supported us for years. The project creates a new venue for the club, smaller, more affordable for them, so more important that the neighborhood organization can continue. Building 1 will house the new club. Building 2 cannot be commenced until Building 1 is complete, so we can move the club in there. The lot for Building 3 will be used as our staging area for the construction of Building 1 and 2. Building 1 is made up of space for the new club, 8 two-bedroom units, and 1 single-room occupancy unit that is fully ADA compliant. All rentals. Building number 2 will have 2 levels of garage parking underneath, 10 rental units, 8 two-bedroom units, and 2 three-bedroom units. At least 8 of the units in Building 1 and 2 will be deed restricted and affordable housing. We've been working with Phil Ferrera on that. Building number 3 is 15 two-bedroom condominiums with parking garage underneath. All units are to be deed restricted to affordable housing. This is something Tom Golden really requested. He didn't want just all rentals over there. He wanted to try to encourage some home ownership, which we were fine with, and it would be a great idea. We've been working on these projects for almost 2 years. Obviously, our goal is to produce a solid project that enhances the area of Lowell that we grew up in, Centerville. With me tonight is Jim Heller. He's was a Centerville resident. I grew up in Centerville. My partner, David Deegan, he grew up on West Street in Centerville. We've been investing in Centerville since 1977. We think we've got a good corporate citizenship and a good neighbor, too. We don't just build our projects, we keep them and maintain them. It's important to understand the financial challenges. People are asking, why is there a lack of affordable housing? We know why. Lack of available land, high cost of land, a lot of other reasons contribute to the problem. But most impact are financial. If you can get to set of numbers that work, which is increasingly difficult, every adjustment jeopardizes the project as margins are small. Add the presence of interest rates, inflation to the mix, and you have a minefield. Finally, we aren't a big company. We're blue-collar builders. We hire local people as employees and subcontractors. We buy from local businesses, and we have a stake in the neighborhood, too. We own 2 adjacent properties, and others are nearby. This is part of 5 decades-long investment in Somerville. Now, let's take them in order, starting with Building 1. I'm going to ask that I can present Building 1 not the way the sheet has it. It has it 3, 2, and 1. I'd like to go 1, 2, and 3 if I have permission to do that. Just makes it a lot.
Go ahead, Mr. McCarthy.
I'm going to start.
If I could just, for a minute, so the way they're organized on the agenda is 14, 15, and 16.
Yes.
So,
So 14 West 4th is the parking lot. I'd like to do that one last.
when we're talking about each one building, if you could just kind of, Building 1 / building,
Okay. Building 1 is 5th Street,
otherwise referred to as Building 16?
16. It's
Right.
Building 1 is
And
16
Maybe
West
Building
5th.
2 is referred to as Building 15? Just, you could say the two together, just so that we can follow it with the
Yeah.
way the
So
materials are organized.
16 West 5th is Building 1.
Okay. Before that, Mr. Marlowe, just point of parliamentary procedure, just since we're going to be discussing everything at once, I believe, Mr. Chairman, would it be, should we just read off all the agenda items, just so we're clear,
Yes.
so everything, if we're discussing the whole project at once and we're going through 1, 2, and 3, I think it behooves us to read all of the agenda items off first, so we're covering everything, noting that we're covering everything,
Yeah, that's,
as opposed to going through, okay, we're done with this one, now let's go to that one. So, I mean, because
No,
right now
that
we're
makes
on
sense,
14, so.
yeah, that makes sense, Mr.
So just
Callahan.
little legalese, parliamentary procedure.
So should I,
things.
I'm going to start with 16 West 5th?
Once the chairman's got to read off all of these.
So I'm just going to read all the petitions that you're seeking tonight.
That's fine.
So that way, procedurally, through Robert's Rule of Procedures, everything's been read into the record. And then, like Mr. McCarthy said, whatever building you're talking about, Building 3, just say 14, Building 1 is 15. So we can follow your narrative, if that makes sense, Mr. Marlowe.
Yep.
So, all right, so we read into the record ZBA-2023-44. We're going to read into the record, you're also seeking a petition for ZBA-2023-46, which is a variance. And this property is located at 15 West 4th Street, also known as Building 1. I'm just going to read the petition. It says, has applied to the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals seeking site plan review, special permit, and variance approval to construct a 10-unit residential building at 15 West 4th Street. The subject property is located in the neighborhood business NB zoning district. The proposal requires site plan review from the Planning Board, Lowell Planning Board, for a development with greater than 3 residential units, and a special permit approval from the Lowell Planning Board per Article 12.1 and Section 11.3 for development with 7 to 10 residential units. The proposal requires variance approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals for Section 5.1 for relief from the lot area per dwelling unit and use for open space per dwelling unit requirements and any other relief required in the Lowell zoning ordinance. And then the other petition you're seeking tonight, Mr. Marlowe, is ZBA-2023-45, also a variance, and this property is located at 16 West 5th Street, also Building 2, has applied to the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals seeking site plan review, special permit, and variance approval to construct a 9-unit residential building at 16 West 5th Street. The subject property is located in the neighborhood business NB zoning district. The proposal requires site plan review from the Lowell Planning Board for the development with greater than 3 resident units and special permit from the Lowell Planning Board per Article 12.1 and Section 11.3 for the development with 7 to 10 residential units. The proposal requires variance approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals per Section 6.1 for relief from the minimum off-street parking requirements and any other relief under the Lowell zoning ordinance. All right, Mr. Marlowe, go on with your presentation, sir.
Excuse me, can I just jump in for 1 second?
Mr. Harvey, go ahead, sir.
Sorry, I just figured that everybody's jumping in. It's my point. We got information today that we're waiting for a swept path analysis.
A what?
Swept path analysis?
Yes.
Right, so,
Yeah, and I will address that.
okay.
Yep.
I just, not to get ahead of ourselves, I don't want you to go through everything if we're not going to be able to vote on something until we get something back. Because I know it's a big project. We have 3 different motions on here. If we're just going to continue this, I don't want to, spend all your time leading up to. So maybe you could address that first and see if we want to continue or address.
Yeah,
So-
Mr. Brownlow, go ahead. You want to address that?
Yes. So I've met with Deputy Crabtree. We were told that we needed 20 feet to get into each side. They wanted to be able to service at least 2 sides of the building. So I have papers with me that are stamped as of this afternoon that show that we can get 20 feet in. The problem we're having, they now want the path, the swept path to get in, and boy, that truck is huge. It's a big truck. So we're addressing that by we're going to have to get an engineer in safety that can show us the path to that. We have access to building number 3, I call it, the condominiums, from the back of the building we own at 27 West 3rd. We can access it that way. We can access it on a right-of-way on the left side. We can access it from the street. But we don't have the path drawn in of the large fire truck. On the East End Club building, we have the front of the building on West 4th Street, and this past week, we eliminated 7 parking spaces. And the 7 parking spaces allowed for the truck, and we have a path done on that by our engineer, Pat Flaherty, to get up to the back of the existing club. So we have the front covered and we have the side covered. The problem he came into is turning in from West 5th Street into where the new club is going to be located. And that's a tough turn. But we can continue up through the existing club. We have the 20-foot path, and we can get all the way up to the whole length of the building on West 5th Street. But they want to see a path of that. So what I was hoping, because Anthony Naganga is our architect, I was hoping to get to the second phase of the designs. So I was hoping tonight that you could make that path as a condition, because I'm not going in front of the planning board until January 8th or somewhere time in January. So I was hoping that that would be a condition that we could finalize to get that engineering done for that. We've already been in touch with 2 engineers that handle that type of work. Jim's handling that for me. Do you want to just speak on that, Jim? I think Jim knows a little bit about that.
What I did was, when this issue arose last week, I took a look at the situation. Peter and I evaluated it, and we realized, we know this is safety. That's number one. So what I ended up doing was, and again, it's not something that we've run into before, so this was kind of a first impression situation for us. I consulted actually a couple of firefighters that I know. Matter of fact, one was my brother-in-law, and he said that the fire science folks that you need to get, some of the best, actually teach at Middlesex Community College. So I knew last week wasn't going to be a home run on chasing people down, particularly last Friday. So I actually reached out today. Also, I contacted a consultancy in Boston that I understand is absolutely the best on this. The name of them is Jensen Hughes, and they did like a lot of other professionals did today, put me off till tomorrow apparently, and I'm hoping we hear from them tomorrow. I got their name from a couple of engineers that I know that said that they are the people to reach out to for expert opinions on this. So we should hear back from them, I would expect, shortly. So I thought that was one that's a top authority, and 2 that has to know the area. Matter of fact, the director of the program at Middlesex is actually the fire safety lieutenant in Drake. So that's, we're not ignoring this. We jumped right on this problem. Okay, thank you for taking my comments.
By no means it wasn't meant to be a critical statement. I'm just saying I don't want to go through the whole
course,
entire
Ms. Harvey, yeah.
project if we're going to wait for this anyways. And I saw the correspondence today that you're addressing it, which is great, and that's wonderful. But I think a project this large to go over it multiple times might be a little overkill. If I know we just went through everything, it seems like the third building there isn't an issue with. So we either, I would say, continue them all, or at least take the third building up. But I just don't want to get to a point where we do a presentation of 3 different projects to say, okay, come back and do this once we get the analysis back. And I know you're working on it, and by no means was I trying to criticize where you are. Projects this size is going to have a lot of moving parts.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Any of my other colleagues want to make any comments before we move forward? I think Mr. Harvey makes a good point in terms of reservations or continuing this. Mr. McCarthy, did you have any comments, sir?
I just want to say that I think the comments are warranted, except for the fact that we do have plans in front of us that show 20-foot dimensions on them for the requirements per the section stated. I can't think of the name of the. Anyway, the fire deputy chief Rob Crabtree did ask for following the requirement of 20 feet. And we do have 20 feet dimensions shown on the plans, but we also do have the vehicle shown on the plan as well, indicating that it can maneuver through. But it's certainly not something that you just kind of blink your eyes and it's done. It's something that needs to be thought through and done with a thorough way to make it, successful. All the buildings will be sprinklered.
Yes, I haven't gotten into that
And we're
yet.
improving the fire truck access over what's there today, for sure. So I'm sure that this will be a success with the right people on it. And I would suggest that we could condition the approval on the fire department have their concerns met with access for their vehicle through the site for all 3 buildings.
That's what I was hoping for.
That's what I would like to put forward in comments to the board, maybe after hearing your whole. But that's the direction I think we could look at as potential.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. If there's no further questions in terms of continuance debate, Mr. Marlowe, you can go on with your presentation, sir. Okay.
So I can go forward?
Yeah, go ahead.
Building 1 proposal, as I stated previously, in this building contains new space for the club, a 1-bedroom ADA compliant unit, 8 2-bedroom units. We have adequate snow storage, and we feel we'll improve the adequate parking with excellent lighting, access for emergency services, and again, preserving the East End Social Club, which is part of a support system for the residents of Centerville. We have all the variances listed in the package you have in front of you. The Lowell and every city like it, no project is ideal. With the population of Lowell and the size of the city, density is always an issue. I feel the housing this and the 2 buildings offer fill an attractive, safe building that enhances the neighborhood. The land for the building is made up of 2 separate deeded lots that we already own. The combined parcel is open to the parcel where the club presently is located. Access from West 5th Street and West 4th Street will be maintained to provide emergency access on a drive-through basis. Parking for this building will be shared with Building 2. Obviously, the building will meet all fire safety codes as well as compliance with HUD standards for rents of affordable units. Here is what we need to be clear about. Creating affordable housing is very challenging in the 21st century, and compromise on the certain issues is necessary. The cost to build this building on a per square foot basis are a little more than double when we did 27 West 3rd Street. If we complied with every special requirement, we wouldn't have room for the building and we wouldn't make any financial sense at all. As a matter of fact, we might not even have the room for the building. So we put our best effort into designing, redesigning this, and 2 other buildings while we provide a safe environment. The units such as these, we simply won't have the occupants for each unit owning 2 cars. We are less than 300 feet from the bus route on Bridge Street. We're walking distance to downtown schools, parks, boarding house park, and national park facilities. One of the issues, and wasn't really, they don't seem to, the Department Planning and Development doesn't seem to be as strict on the 2-car parking as they want to see more landscape. And I'm open to that. Now that our recent plan to get the 20-foot drive-in, we eliminated 7 parking spaces between Building 1 and Building 2. And that allowed for the truck to get up in there. By doing that, I can pull the parking, it's more parallel, I can pull the parking away from the fence and I can put in some more landscape area, and I'm willing to work with planning and development on that. I've done that in all the buildings I've done. Everything is always landscaped well. We do it ourselves, and I'm willing to work on that. So that's Building 1. I'm open to questions now.
Maybe want to open it up to the public for building 1, and then, do them each separate. That would probably be the best way to do it. So this is building 1.
Okay, Mr. Marlowe, before you go further, we'll open up the hearing to building 1. That's the project you're talking about, right?
That's where the club is going to be. That's on 16 West 5th.
Okay. All right, so let me just open up to the public real quick for building 1, 16 West 5th, right?
Correct.
All right. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition for this petition? In opposition? In opposition? All right, seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed for the petition for 16 West 5th Street. Go ahead, Mr. Marlowe. You can continue, sir. Go ahead.
All right. So I've created a parking book that I'd just like to review with you. So building number 1 has 9 apartments. The required would be 18 units if we were sticking by 2 per unit. This is on page 1 of the parking booklet. The club is 3,000 square feet. Now, Dylan had it down. He went by the outside dimensions, and he came up with 32, but we eliminated the stairs that access the apartments up above, and it came out to be, we needed 1 unit per 100 square feet, 1 parking unit per 100 square feet. That came out to 30, okay? Building 2, 10 apartments would require 20 parking spaces. The reason I'm combining them is because the buildings share the parking, because I'm putting in a parking garage, okay? So the outdoor on-site parking, we have 15 units now. We had 22, we're down to 15. The indoor parking site, I have 26, 13 on each level. The public parking within 1,500 feet of both projects, there's 14. Not that 14 are always going to be available, but there's 14. West 5th Street, the back of Tedeschi's, I don't know if it's, when I was growing up, it was, so many different names. But the back of that building, there's actually 6 spaces that can be had there. On West 5th Street, on West 4th Street, there's 6 spaces, okay, and we can eliminate the 4 ADA spaces that are on West 4th and put 2 over in front of the building on West 5th. So the total that we needed, if we do everything, and the club isn't doing the business that they used to. They don't need that amount of parking, but I'm still trying to fill the numbers and make the numbers work. So the total parking needed for both buildings is 68. And if we use the 14 that are in the public parking, we come up with 69 parking spaces. Now, talking to Dylan, it wasn't necessary that we needed 2 per unit, but maybe we keep it the way it is, and that way, if visitors come or whatever, there's always parking all the way around. We purposely reused the foundation of the existing club. It was built as a very commercial building, the club, back in the 70s. So the foundation is good. So we're going to incorporate that into a 2-level parking. One level will be from the 4th Street, the other level will be from the back of the building. So we'll have 13 parking spaces on each floor. We were able to get some HUD funding for this project, and one of the things at the very last minute is we had to have an ADA unit. Well, we can't be putting elevators in every building because you're talking, $200,000 for an elevator. One of our buildings does. So what we did was we added a 1-bedroom ADA unit on the back of Building 1 at the last minute, okay? And that gave us, we met the HUD requirements to get the funding for that through planning and development. This gives the club a brand-new location. It's 3,000 square feet. It gives them a nice new location where they can exist. Right now, all these World War II guys that came back, they've died off. I mean, I'm going to be 70 years old in another 2 months. So they're gone. So they don't have the membership they used to have. But it's still a club that a lot of people go to, and we want to keep it that way. If we make it a little smaller, it'll give them more years of service.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe. So we'll open up questions or comments to the board. The chair recognizes the vice chairman, Mr. Callahan. Do you have any comments, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure we're good. So are you completely done with the whole presentation now, Mr. Marlowe, as far as the 3 buildings, or are we just talking about Building 1 right now?
We're talking Building 1 right now.
Building 1
Yep.
only, right? So, okay.
Except that the parking is intertwined.
Yep.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yep. No, just want to make sure we're clear. I like the project as a whole. I mean, and as far as Building 1 and moving that back, yes, the East End Club, and I'm familiar with the East End Club. Been there several times. I appreciate that they're trying to downsize and there's things going on. I'm hoping that it doesn't go out of existence because it's a nice place there, and there's it's great for the Centerville neighborhood. People go there for functions and whatnot. So as far as I understand, so they're scaling down, so it's not going to be a function hall anymore. It's just going to be the club, and that's it. Is that?
Yeah, it'll still probably do some Jack and Jill's or a little wedding on a weekend, or just a place to go for a group of people, a birthday party. They'll still rent it out, but they're not doing any. Even last year, they didn't do anything near the amount that they used to do.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make it so they can exist.
Yeah. I mean, I think because the concern on that end with that part of it is obviously the parking with patrons going to the club. If there are any functions going along, if there's hardly any parking because it's being taken up by residents mostly. And I understand we have the public parking over on Bridge Street, the 14 spaces, but that's next to the precinct, which my understanding, just briefly thinking about that small little parking spot, there's at least 2, maybe 3 or 4 of those spots in that parking lot are designated for the police because the precinct is right across the street.
Yep.
So it might not be 14, 16 we're talking about. We're probably only talking
And
about.
I pointed that out to be fair,
Yeah.
but I have to put down that there is 14 there.
Yeah, so. But And I appreciate the ADU unit because I saw that at first when I was looking at the plans with the one unit in the back on the lower floor, and I'm
Yeah.
like, it seemed kind of off. But now that you mentioned it's an ADU.
Yeah, it wasn't in the original plan.
Yeah.
When they called us, they said, we have to do that, and then we have to do some other issues for senses and things like that. But that was the big one, is getting that in there. So I had to squeeze it in, and I had to move the building closer to West Fifth Street. But I still gave myself 18 inches to be able to put some plants in the front of the building, similar to what I have on Bridge Street.
So when yeah, but as far as the new plans, when you took out the parking, so now we're looking at is you got now the 3 parking spots instead of the.
Yeah, I have a bigger
on West-
plan if you want them.
Yeah, if you want, we'll take a look at it. But I mean, I'm just going by the one that we got that was stated today, on the 23rd, with regards to that shows the fire.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, this is across the street. Okay. Yeah, this is for 14. So these ones are for 14. We're looking for the ones from West Fifth Street. You have the bigger plans for West Fifth Street?
She printed the wrong one.
Okay.
She printed the wrong one. That'll be. I apologize. The girl printed the wrong one.
Ah, no
She
worries.
printed the old one at Lowell Blueprint today. So when you look at the West Fifth Street plan,
Yep.
it
And
was-
I'm just so it's clear, I'm looking at the one that was submitted on November 23rd, or was dated November 23rd, that has the
Yeah.
fire trucks, the fire trucks proposed to
yes,
go through.
what they did was they took the 18-foot opening and they made it into 20.
Yep.
And they eliminated parking 1 through 6.
Yep.
1 through 8. And they put 3 in sideways. So they eliminated quite a bit of parking right by the club entrance.
The ones in the back on West Fifth Street? Because I'm looking at it, it looks like on West Fifth Street, I'm looking, yeah, on the West Fifth Street side,
Yep.
on the previously proposed plans, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parking spots on West Fifth.
Right,
West
those have
Fifth
been
Street.
eliminated.
Those were now
But they're
eliminated.
now turned, there's 3 in there sideways.
Three going
Yes.
side to side. Okay, just want to double check and make sure.
Yep. And the 7 and 8 have
Yep.
been completely eliminated.
7 and 8 on the inside. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was so that the truck could get access up through there.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
I know it's tough. This is tough.
They
yeah.
want parking, then they want
Yeah.
access, then
Yeah.
Bill's office wanted an ADA unit, so
Which-
it's hard to get it all.
Which kind of leads to the hardship on this, I think, because
And then people say, well, just build less units. You can't build less units and make it somewhat affordable. It's just impossible to do.
which
The numbers just.
especially with the layout of the land, with the layout of the lot. I mean, I think he clearly had a hardship, and
Yeah.
that's the way it's all set out. Then it's just so, discombobulated as far as the layout of the lot is concerned. But as far as building 1 is concerned, I think, you do with the layout of where it is with the lot. The parking is a bit of a concern, but like you mentioned, you have the public spaces over on 369 Bridge Street, as limited as they are, but I mean, they're there. And I think you meet at least for building 1, I think you would meet the criteria for the variances, and I'd be an approval for building 1. So I'll listen to my other fellow board members as to what they say. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. The chair recognizes Mr. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I don't really have too many comments. I think that it's a pretty well drafted proposal here. I see that the city, like, again, does need housing, and the fact that it's a lot of fair housing, I think that it's a great project. So I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Nixon. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, this is going to be, I'm sure more questions will come up as we go into buildings 2 and 3, but as far as building 1's concerned, I understand you have to do away some of the parking for the fire apparatus. On the parking allocation, you include the on-street parking, which isn't really included because...
Yeah, and I understand that.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And it's not guaranteed, and, you know, I think you put it in a situation where, in order to make it meet the fire apparatus, you had to lose some parking. I know one of the comments was to add more green space and take away more parking, which I don't think would be beneficial to this project. I mean, we can add more green space in here. Like you said, move the parking spaces, maybe back off. But I wouldn't want to lose more parking because, as been mentioned, the public parking, you mentioned it yourself, there's 14 spots, but we know you're not going to get 14 spots there, right? And I've gone to the the club a couple times for different reasons, and the parking in that area really it gets tight, especially as you go down West 4th. But as far as building 1, and I think we can address this maybe later, but snow removal is going to be a concern because there's no real space for it. I'll write it down. We can get back to it on building 3 because I think we're going to have some type of off-site snow removal.
We do have, we actually keep a front-end loader because 27 West 3rd, we own the precinct building where the police station is. We own the building behind it.
Okay.
We own 480 Bridge Street. We keep a front-end loader over there, and we do truck it out.
So okay, so the
It's
plan
part
right
of
now-
it's part of what we have to do.
All right.
You know?
So that was one of the comments.
Yeah.
I'm glad you addressed it. Another comment was, and I don't think you can do it on building 1, but bike racks, inside bike racks.
Yes, so the bike racks, I have a letter that I don't know if, I assume Dylan sent it out. I addressed, I forgot her name.
Allison Carter, maybe?
Elizabeth Altman. I addressed that, and all she said, just tell me how close you are to a bus route, and she wanted to know that you'll have bike racks, and she wanted them internally. So there'll be a bike rack on the upper level of the parking garage on Building 2.
Oh, right.
Building 3 will have a bike rack inside the lower level.
Okay.
That's an easy fix.
All right. No, well, no, I mean, that's why I didn't know when to bring it up, because obviously building 1, you can't put it inside somebody's apartment, so.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I have on.
And again, to address the landscaping, those parallel spots that we eliminated, those 8 spots and went 3 parallel, those can be pulled closer to the 20-foot line, and I can put a row of trees and landscaping in there. And we always do this. I'm
Sure.
always open
No.
to that. And I can work directly with planning and development on that.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to focus my questions on
Yep,
building 1, but like you said, it kind of flows into building
yep.
2, so I'm sure we'll have more then. But I mean, overall, I think it's a great utilization of space. We need that affordable and low-income housing. Centerville will appreciate it. So I'll hold off from going any further until we get into 2 and 3.
Thank you, Mr. Hovey. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I love the project. I love all 3 buildings.
Yeah,
I love the fact that you're doing affordable housing, you're doing structured parking.
yep. It's
amazing.
I really enjoy what I do. I do my own designs, and then I pass them off to Anthony so that he can obviously stamp them, and he does all the fire, exits and egress and everything for me. But I come up with the basic design, and I try to make them as affordable as I possibly can.
You're doing it in the right location, because that's the part of the city that, I think has the most walkability and the most density. Well, one of the areas that is very dense. And so I think it's the right location for sure. I'd like to just make sure I have a clear understanding of what you're providing for parking for this building 16/1. So we have a reduction of 5 or 7 spaces. So if we look at your parking allocation chart,
Yes,
you have building 1, 9 apartments, you have 18 required. And then outdoor parking for that site, you have 22 available. That number 22 is being dropped to 15, is
to
that correct?
15, yep,
So it's a total reduction of 7 spaces?
yes.
Okay.
To allow the fire truck the 20-foot passage.
Correct, yep. And also 3 more shade trees or whatever
Yes,
we're getting.
yes.
So we're getting
So it's,
shade trees and access.
yes, both. It covers both.
Yep.
7 spaces will cover both areas.
And so what we have in front of us is an application that's, you're in front of us for variance approval of zoning board under section 6.1 for relief from minimum off-street parking requirement, any other relief under Lowell zoning ordinance. So we still are asking for relief for what was stated. It's
Absolutely.
just going from
Yep.
the number that you had previously presented to additional 7 spaces beyond that. So, okay.
Yes.
So I think we're still in the ballpark for
Yes.
what we're asking for relief on.
Yep, absolutely, yep.
I'm struggling with whether or not we can go ahead with conditions, if, in my mind, on approving this tonight, or if we need to wait for the revised plans to come out for everyone to be comfortable with what you're asking for, because I think I got it, but without black and white, it's a little fuzzy for everybody. But that being said, I think that I'm fine with what we're asking for with relief for parking, and we're going to have maybe 3 or so conditions here with the snow removal being off-site, and that we provide bike racks associated with this building, but it'll be located on Building 2 and Building 3.
Yep.
And that we have up to 3 shade trees, 2.5-inch minimum caliper located on the northeast side near West 5th Street, okay? Something like that.
Yep.
That's what I see, but I'm okay with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. In terms of building 1 and parking, the layout and the access, I think, you gave some spaces to make access for the safety apparatus like we're talking about, and I think you do have a hardship. I think the lot and the layout of building 1, the whole lot in general, but building 1 is a weird layout. So I think you working with like the city, DPD, and just the compromises. I think, again, Mr. Marlowe, your reputation precedes yourself. You're always working with everyone for the best interest, not just for not just for your personal gain or anything. So I appreciate that, and I think the relief you're seeking, it outweighs kind of the benefits that the city and the neighborhood and the whole city as a whole is going to get. So, I'm going to support this and building 1 and this petition you're seeking tonight.
Okay.
So if we have no further comments, can we have a motion for building 1? Yeah.
Or Building 16.
Building 16, excuse me, yeah.
Through Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZBA 2023-45 for variances at 16 West 4th Street for a variance for relief for minimum off-street parking with 4 conditions: that the applicant provide off-street snow removal, that the applicant provide bike racks located in either Building 2 or Building 3, /15 or 14. And that the applicant provide up to 3 shade trees, minimum 2.5-inch caliper, located on the northeast side near West 5th Street, and that the applicant receive approval from the Lowell Fire Department regarding the swept path plan.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Hovey. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve of condition.
Member Callahan,
Approve of conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve with conditions.
All right, Mr. Marlowe, your first petition has been approved. Do you want to talk about building 2 and building 3? Yeah.
Building 2 at 14 West 4th Street will be located on the footprint of the existing club building. We have designed the structure to reuse the existing foundation, a commercial foundation built in the 1970s. We used little ingenuity to reuse the existing foundation as a parking garage with direct entry from West 4th Street. We then added a second level, which can be entered from the back of the building to go to constituents to a 2-story parking garage without the wasted space of internal ramps. We think this is a new concept for Lowell. It provides 26 parking spaces upstairs. As mentioned previously, we have 2 3-bedroom and 8 2-bedroom units. We think this is a solid design for reuse of the foundation and the site in general. Again, this building will have excellent exterior lighting, great access, and this building will even closer, it's even closer to the bus route, 100 feet from Bridge Street. When overflow parking for this building 1 is needed, there is a city lot on the corner of Bridge and 4th Street that has 14 spaces. Again, here we are providing state-of-the-art fire suppression systems. One thing I would like to mention is the fact that we maintain ownership of all our buildings. These 2 buildings will stay in our ownership. This isn't a hit-and-run construction. We have to live with these for a long time. We have a solid safety record for 46 years of ownership of rental properties in Lowell. Between the 3 lots under buildings 1 and 2, we feel we have adequate access for fire trucks, adequate parking, adequate snow storage, some open space, and a good stormwater runoff plan, and most importantly, a nice place for families to live. And that's that on that one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marlowe.
So that building, again, is 2 levels of parking, and then townhouse-style buildings on top, so people aren't going up 3 flights of stairs to get to their unit. When they go up from the 1-level parking, they'll go up 1 flight of stairs, and they'll enter a townhouse, and then in that townhouse, they'll be able to they can go to the 2nd floor bedrooms then. And that's how that layout came to be.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marlowe. Now we'll open up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition. Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor. Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. We'll open up questions and comments to the board now. The chair recognizes Mr. Nickerson. Mr. Nickerson, the floor is yours, sir.
I don't have any questions right now.
Thank you, Mr. Nickerson. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, obviously, I already asked some of the questions. We have bike racks in here for, obviously, buildings 1 and 2 are going to be in this?
Yeah. So building 2 will have the bike racks for
For
1
1 and 2.
And 2, yes.
Okay. I know it says you exceed parking here, but that's really because you're overflowing from building 1 into this lot also? Is that the case?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The comment on this says you exceed parking requirements here, but that's because you're overflowing from...
Yep.
Yeah, which is fine. And you submitted the transportation demand...
Same
Yep,
one that I
same
read
one.
before. Yep.
And the same thing, you have the parking lot around the...
Yep. I did that right away. I got that right out of the...
I mean, this is just a continuation, I think, of building 1. It's...
Most of the people, we own the building on West 3rd Street. We own the building on where the police precinct is. The people just don't have 2 cars anymore. The people that are renting in this area.
Sure.
They just don't have it. They're using buses. They're using Uber. Uber has changed a lot. They don't necessarily have to own a car.
And I think it was Member McCarthy that brought up that, this is a neighborhood, you can use public transportation, it goes right down Bridge Street, but it's also walkable.
Yep.
And if you need anything, you can go right downtown. It's just over the bridge. So I think this project in this area we can have a little leeway on the parking because we can have a lot of public transportation and foot traffic here.
Yep.
Whereas if you put this on the outskirts of the city, maybe that's not feasible here. But I don't think anything new came up from building 1 to building 2 for me. I think maybe we need to make the same condition on the swept path as before, just to stay consistent, because it's really between buildings 1 and building 2. But
It's basically really one project, although
Right,
we had it
yeah.
presented as 2 separate items.
so I think maybe just administratively we have to put that on there. But I don't have any concerns. We did see that you're putting in planting.
That building's a little different. I've got a lot to plant with. I got a lot to work with on the front of the building.
On the front of the building.
We already took down a huge tree that was impacting the wires, and we're going to be able to change the wire pattern, and it'll be a great area. I can put some benches out there, maybe a picnic table, but it's above the wall. It's a nicer area that I have. I've got a lot to work with.
Yep.
Yep.
And stormwater permit. You have to. Do you see the stormwater comments on this?
Yes, we have. He's already drawn them into the plan.
Okay.
And we have the soils because we did them on the last building, so we know what the soils are. We've also had the drilling done to find out how stabilized the soil is. And on 27 West 3rd, the soils were horrible. We had to use helical piers. On these new sites, the soils weren't as bad. I just have to put in some heavy stone, gravel, and compact to dig out some of the old stuff, because it all has urban fill, from years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Huffey. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're looking for relief here for variances regarding lot area per dwelling unit and usable open space per dwelling unit. Significant relief, but nonetheless, that's what we're asking for in this particular application. So the condition that Member Hovey suggested is that we have the SWIP path. I think also maybe we don't have a robust shade tree landscape plan.
I can do that. Yeah, I did submit a plan.
I know,
But it was a little basic along with the lighting.
and I think we really are relying on this side of the street to provide shade, because
Yep.
the other side of the street, we really don't have as much space to put shade trees. So I'd like to see 3 2.5-inch caliper shade trees in that landscaped area in the front. I
Yep,
think.
that's fine.
But,
The only, just so I'm fair, the only thing that may change because of structural, I've been dealing with a structural engineer, is if you look at the entrance to the lower level parking, that may shift to the left. So it'll give us actually a bigger landscape
I think you're
area
right.
on the right, only because of bearing points. He may want to kick that over. But basically, the building that's the design that we're going to build.
And I think the other 2 conditions that we had apply here as well, where we have off-street snow removal required, and then we have off-site snow removal, and then to provide bike racks in the garage.
Yep.
Yep. So other than that, I look forward to seeing this built.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. The chair recognizes the vice chairman, Ms. Callahan. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly love the layout of the new building that's going to take over for the existing building at the East End Club. But I'm looking at the site plan, Mr. Marlowe, and I'm trying to. It looks like, at least from the elevations that's being provided, and again, maybe I'm looking at something differently, but you're going to have the drive path going into the garage coming from.
Well, right now,
West Fourth.
we proposed it coming from West 4th Street.
Yep.
Up. And on that plan, we eliminated, I'll tell you what we eliminated. So, talking building number 2, we eliminated 12 and 13
On the side, right?
on the side,
Yeah.
so we could get the 20-foot drive up.
Yep.
That's-
No, I understand that. I'm trying to figure out, based what's on the plan now, it just looks like it's the existing footprint of the East End Club and not what's being proposed.
No, we're using exactly the footprint.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not changing at all.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I was under the impression you were tearing it down and building up on, under the
Just
same
down to the
footprint, but
foundation.
expanding,
Yep.
but opening, making an opening for the parking to go into the
We're
parking.
using the exact, when Jim went through with the environmental review,
Yeah,
he couldn't believe how big, how well the building was built. It was built as a commercial building, not a residential building.
oh, okay.
And so the foundation's amazing. So we're going to incorporate that. That is our plan to house the whole building. It was designed to sit directly on that foundation.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out where the drive path's going to be to go into the driveway, to go into the interior of the garage, if you want to call it. And I was presuming that it was going to be the front end of where the front door of the East End Club is right now.
If you go to the rendering,
Yep.
the set of plans,
Yeah, but it's not on the site plan. I see that, but it's not on the site plan.
it's on the rear side. I gave you three.
On the rear side?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's on the rear side.
Oh, so that's coming from West 6th?
As you come up here, this was the parking.
Yes.
They'll come in and they'll drive in this way.
Okay,
Whereas the other one is from West 4th Street. This is on the rear of West 4th Street.
okay.
Page 3.
Page 3, okay.
Yep.
All right, because the renderings show a street access, so
Yep.
that's going to be flipped over to the rear end as
Yes.
far as okay.
One exit from the lower level and the upper level is going to be access from the back of the building.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I go to Boston a lot and I try to look at construction and what some of these really nice architects are creating. So we were able to create these, they look like windows, but they're going to be cut out of PVC on our CNC machine that we own. And they'll be black and it'll look like a window, so it makes it a little bit more attractive.
yeah,
I didn't want it to look like a parking garage.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to create something that's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So that's what we did.
so these are the ones that are going to be rental units, or building in this building, or is this going to be the condos?
These are rentals.
Okay,
These are designated affordable rentals.
on-site property management, or?
Yeah, well, we manage everything. We're based in
Oh,
Lowell.
you're
We're at 258 West Manchester Street,
Yeah.
but we're there every single day.
Okay, and what about like package deliveries or anything like that? Is there going to be like anything designated?
That's
for
been a
mail?
problem. That's a challenge in any building that we're doing,
Okay.
The pirates are out there.
Okay.
I don't know what the answer to that is, unless you, I don't know what the answer to that is.
Okay.
It's a problem. I mean, we had one tenant, they finally moved. They were grabbing everything that came to the door.
Yeah.
They were running down, there's cameras, so they were running down and grabbing everything,
But I guess, is there a designated mailroom in the building plans here, or that would be where the packages are, I guess,
Yeah.
going to be delivered, or is just going to be, yeah? Or,
We'll have to figure something out.
okay, all right. So, okay, no, I'm surprised that, like I said, I thought it was going to be a total tear down and rebuild, but if the structure of the building is
Just going to
okay,
take
then it's like-
the existing level off and work
Okay.
with it from there.
All right, sounds good to me. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Mr. Marlowe, again, I think building 1, building 2, it makes sense to me in terms of, you are seeking a good amount of relief, but it outweighs the benefits, the relief you're seeking. A lot of area per dwelling unit. I think you meet the requirements, in my opinion. And again, amazing project. I think that whole neighborhood, the whole city is going to benefit from this project as a whole. So you have my support, sir.
Yep.
All right. If there's no other comments by my colleagues, can you move forward with a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZBA 2023 dash, what number you on? 2023-44.
That's 46.
Okay. 2023-46. Thank you, Sean. For variance at 15 West 4th. The variance is for relief for lot area per dwelling unit and usable open space per dwelling unit, and any other relief required by the Lowell zoning ordinance, with the 4 conditions that we provide that the applicant provide off-site snow removal, that the applicant provide bike racks at the parking area, and that the applicant provide a minimum of 3 shade trees, 2.5-inch caliper along West 4th Street, and that the applicant receive approval from the Lowell Fire Department regarding the SWIP plan.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Hovey. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve of conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve of conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
All right, Mr. Marlowe, you've been approved for building 2. Do you want to talk about building 3? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Marlowe.
Thank you.
I have these. Okay, thank you.
Building 3 on West 4th Street, 14 West 4th Street. We believe the concept of when people own their home, it's good for America. And it enhances the family stability. It's a pillar for increasing generational wealth and builds neighborhoods. In other words, we want to be part of the American dream for 15 family units. And doing this today, we never have been more challenging for homeowners and developers too. I've gotten good revisions to the plans. This property has some unique challenges of its own. We were fortunate enough to have the Lowell City Council in an 11-0 vote agree to sell us an adjacent piece of land, 2,400 square feet lot, to help us with open space and access to parking. We will not build on it. My thanks to the council, and we won't betray their trust. This property also backs up to our building at 27 West 3rd Street property, which helps for fire truck access. Speaking of that, there is a 15-foot right-of-way on the adjacent land to the east side of our larger parcel for this site. The book and page reference Middlesex District North Registry, the deeds. The plan book is 125, Plan 160. We will also have 5 feet wide open area running parallel to the 15-foot wide track for the fire truck access with a full 20-foot width. Please also keep in mind all 3 buildings have state-of-the-art sprinkler and alarm systems as required by code. The building, as you can see from the renderings, will have a parking garage at level that will provide 15 indoor parking spaces with additional outdoor parking for a couple of spaces, for an additional 13 on the outside and a couple in the street. Above, we will have 3 stories of condominiums, 5 2-bedroom per floor, providing affordable housing. The entire building will be serviced by an elevator, which is uncommon in the Centerville section of Lowell. These units will be great for individuals for aging in place and consideration. As you can see from the drawings, the elevator will be housed in a tower of the building. The tower will be slightly taller than our buildings at 27 West 3rd and will be lighted on the outside at night and visible from the Bridge Street Bridge, or the Cox Bridge. The other building will also have attractive lighting that will enhance the entire ambience to enter the Centerville. We've carefully planned this enhancement. We own the main lot for this structure already and are scheduling a closing on the lot we are requiring from the city. We're seeking financing from Mass Housing and ask for the city's sponsorship in this endeavor. We are confident that this will succeed as we have already commenced the process. All 3 buildings will have the appropriate amenities to support families, as units in this building will be purchased by homeowners for the occupancy and will have the appropriate upgrades in place. In closing, I think everyone wins. Our company has a solid investment in moderate return. We also benefit from the enhancements to the neighborhood and other area properties will enjoy. The city and its residents have a more certain existence for the East End Club. We have 34 brand-new housing units. The city gets tax revenue, permit revenue, and stabilization influence values this part of Centerville. The papers that I passed out to you, one is the plan of land, and I just wanted to point out the 15-foot right-of-way that'll be on the east side of this particular building, plus the 5 feet we have. So there's 20 feet for a fire truck to access that. That's the first one. The second one that I did was the plan of West 3rd Street, and that's the original plan we had, that we had to show the fire truck access path for that building. So this gives us, this path from West 3rd Street gives us full access to the back of the new building. So we have access from the front, access from the back, so north, south, and we have the west side access. We're just going to have to show that in a path engineered drawing. Let's see. Do you have the others? All right, and then the last plan that I submitted, Pat Flaherty made some changes, and we do have 20 feet. Not only do we have the street, but we have a 20-foot between the building and the parking for the truck to go in there if they have to. But I can't imagine the truck, if the building was on fire, the truck would park against the building. That's the part that I don't understand. I would think they'd be out in the street and send a ladder up. They're not going to park next to the fire. So I just wanted to point that out, that we're trying to do our homework and present everything in the proper method. So that's why I wanted to hand those out to you. Let's see. So the final building that sort of, I call it the creme de la creme. It's my favorite building. This gives ownership. If you look at the front elevation, there's parking, off-street parking, there's garages under, there's bike storage under, and it's got an elevator. So there's actually 3 stories, and this was, Tom Golden wanted this. He wanted home ownership over there, and I agreed with him. And there is some financing through Mass Housing. We can get some financing through Mass Housing to help with the construction, and then I'm sure there'll be some, Jim's a mortgage expert, so we'll be able to find financing for the homeowners that want to come and purchase there. I think it's going to be an interesting project, to say the least. Like I said, it's 5 2-bedroom units per floor. They're decent size, and I look forward to doing this project. A little taller than the other buildings, because it's 3 stories. It's actually a 4-story building. Then the elevator shaft obviously has to be a little higher. So we wanted to accent the elevator shaft, same as we put the clock tower in on the police station coming over the bridge on Bridge Street. People said to me, "What are you spending the money doing that for?" Hey, let's make it look good. We make it look good, it always comes back, and and that's all I have to say about that. And I'll answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe. Now we'll open up the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. We're going to open questions and comments to the board now. The chair recognizes Mr. Hovey. Mr. Hovey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Just a couple questions on this. So going to make a condition here to take snow off site again.
Yep,
You have area for snow storage
yes.
on site here. I know one of the comments was more landscaped area across the front of the project.
Yep.
Now, would that area be able to be converted into?
Well,
Green space.
we do have a landscape area. It's not a very wide one, but it's an area that I usually put sedums and hostas in there. We do have on, I have a landscape plan for that.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because there's
And I-
minimal.
I did have 2 trees. on
Right,
that.
and the reason I'm asking is there's minimal open space here.
Yeah.
And I think anything we could add, if we're taking snow off-site,
Yep.
what do we?
Oh, if we were going to take snow off site, I could use that snow area.
So
for
that's
landscape. Yes.
it. And, you know, that would be, I want to make a condition on 1 and 2 to take snow off-site and then just leave it here. So I think that would be a condition here also, and I think we could use that snow storage as actual green space. Another question for you. So we need relief in the rear, right? And you own the property behind this also?
Yes.
How far from the property line is that property? Is there any space in between the two properties? I know
5
you-
feet.
How,
We have a concrete wall there. I'm a guy that, I don't like to repair fences.
Sure.
So I poured a concrete wall with a chain link fence on top so that you can't access this property
Sure.
right there. So that it'll be graded up to the top of that concrete wall.
okay, so, and then your parking on the other property goes right to that concrete wall also?
Yes, there's 5 feet to the building. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I think in all 15 of these units are going to be sold as affordable housing?
Yes. That was part of the agreement. Yeah.
Sure, and I think, you know, the uniqueness of this project is it's 3 different sites
Yep.
that all kind of bring a certain needed aspect to the city. I don't know if it would be feasible just to do this as a standalone project, to be honest with you. I think you need all 3 to happen. And I think you're revitalizing a you know, a swath of 3 streets in a row, you know,
Yep.
straight down the block. So I like that you have underground parking here. Obviously, we've already spoken. You have the bike racks under here also. You don't need relief from parking here. Is that correct?
Well, the code is 2
Two
spaces
per.
per apartment.
30, yeah,
We
yeah,
have
okay.
15 underneath, and that was important to me, that you get the full 15 under, and then we have 13 outside.
All right, so you need 2,
2, but
technically.
the 2, we could lease across the street, because the garage entrance is directly across the street, so we could have 2 over there.
Right, and again, we can fall into, you have a parking lot
Yep,
within 1,500.
yep. We have parking in front, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is,
Well,
these are gonna be
I'll never
con-
count the on-street parking, just to let
Yep.
you know. So we'll go with the public parking lots
Yep.
right down the street.
So these are condominiums, so snow removal will be written into the condominium documents.
Okay,
Yep.
so you folks won't be responsible for removal?
We'll probably manage the property, but out of fairness, it has to be written into the documents.
Right, so they'd have to
Yep.
pay a certain fee to
Yep.
have it.
I mean-
Yeah, that's,
Like I said, I'm going to be 70.
sure.
Somebody's going to take over at some point.
Right, absolutely. No, I think it's, again, I think it's the end cap on a good project here. You know, luckily you own the project and the property in back, so you have that additional fire safety
Right.
from the backside and,
And that can never change. Even if I didn't own the building in the back,
Right.
that access can't change.
right. So I really, I think with all 3 projects, I think this fits in nicely. and it offers an opportunity for affordable housing,
Yep.
which is desperately needed. So I have no other questions. I'll just turn it over to the rest of the board.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The chair recognizes Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is tremendous that you're doing this in this location
Yeah.
once again, and they're going to be affordable condos. Do you have a clue as to what?
Pardon me?
Do you have a clue as to what the cost of one of these units is? Not really. Too early to tell.
Yeah.
Okay. The landscaping and lighting plan differs from your site plan, and I like it better, but it's one parking space less than what you're showing on your site plan, particularly in the north.
Oh, you're right. 1, 2, 3.
So I'm guessing that your site plan, where you have that snow storage space as just one space,
Yes.
is what you're asking for, not the landscaping and lighting plan.
Yep.
But that landscaped area would be for snow storage, and so you'd be basically piling snow on top of grass or
Yep.
landscaped area.
Yep.
And that's less likely to happen in this back corner where you've got bike storage in a tree, and you're saying that's snow storage as well, but nonetheless, I think
Would you-
snow storage is...
would
a
you
little-
have me
No,
switch
no.
them? Yeah.
I just think your snow storage is most likely going to be taken off-site.
Yep.
And these little areas, anyway. But I just wanted to make sure I understood that. And so I was thinking that it's a similar condition list that we had before, where we have the off-street snow removal, off-site snow removal, the bike racks provided as per your lighting and landscape plan, maybe probably 2 shade trees, 2.5-inch
2.
caliper.
Yeah, we'll get 2 in there.
I think you can get 2. You probably can't get more than 2. I don't see the possible. And then the SWIP path approval from the, if that makes sense. And so the relief you're looking for is, which one are we at, 16? Or 16, right?
14.
4-2. The relief you're looking for is maximum height, lot area per dwelling unit, usable open space per dwelling unit, and rear yard requirements, as well as minimum off-street parking.
Yes.
So, pretty substantial, but worth it, I think. Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. The chair recognizes the vice chairman, Mr. Callahan. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I appreciate the layout on this one, and it's going to be all affordable housing condos. This would be probably the place where you want to have some sort of package delivery room or something like that, because, I mean, I don't know if that's something that...
I'll probably have to reach out to UPS and maybe
Yeah.
they'll put a box there.
Just something, I think something to be there if you have people, I think people who purchase
Yep.
condos are probably going to
Okay.
want something like that.
Yep.
One other thing that kind of caught my eye too, the ground floor parking. And Mr. McCarthy I'm surprised Mr. McCarthy, this isn't something Mr. McCarthy brought up. You got room there for, at least on one of the kitty-cornered area, for an electric vehicle charging station or something, so.
We're talking about it, but the problem is if you put it there, who do you give it to?
No, I understand that.
These were going to be assigned, so
They are, okay.
we may have to put one outside, but you'll have it. Each one will have a deeded space.
Oh,
And that kitty corner one is where the bike racks are going to go.
all right, okay, so,
You know,
all right,
but we'll probably have to put a charging station, at least one outside.
yeah.
You know. Yeah.
That would be a first come, first serve, obviously, thing, so, okay. I didn't realize those were going to be deeded spaces underneath. I
They're
thought that
deeded
was-
to
That was
each-
going to be a
each
free-for-all.
unit, yep.
Okay, all right. No problems, but I mean, the layout of the whole project is great. As always, Mr. Marlowe, I mean, the whole project is fantastic, and you do
We try.
fantastic work, so I can find myself approving this, so, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. The chair recognizes Mr. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, the floor is yours, sir.
I think you did a fantastic job with this project. Being in real estate myself, I find that it's fascinating that you actually did a multi-use within the 3 different buildings.
Yeah.
I am very impressed, being a resident of Centerville as well, and seeing this area being changed. Again, I'm impressed. I think you did a fantastic job. Yeah.
I have to do a good job. A lot of my neighbors are still alive. I grew up on Humphrey Street.
Yeah, and to see that you've actually accommodated and you did your homework on all of the stuff that with landscaping, with the parking, the fire.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon. Mr. Marlowe, again, in terms of building 3, I think you said it very eloquently, sir, in terms of, it's still a lot of people's dream to own a home. And I think something like this, it's a great neighborhood to have a home and, condo, townhouse style kind of home. And you do amazing work in the city. And again, I remember I also grew up in Centerville, and I actually grew up on West 4th Street, further in, but so I think this whole reuse, repurpose of this lot and the keeping the East End Club still functioning, but also availing people homes and places to live and affordable housing and opportunity to own. I think it's an amazing thing. And again, you do great work in the city. So I think, I'll support this, and I always wish you the best of luck, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no further comments, we'll move forward with the motion.
I just want to say, I hope I didn't miss an opportunity to suggest that as a condition that we have all parking spaces be accessible for charging stations. It would be my dream, but maybe not today.
Yeah.
All right. I can go forward with the motion. Through me, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZBA 2023-44 for 14 West 4th Street for variances for relief for maximum building height, lot area per dwelling unit, usable open space per dwelling unit, and rear yard requirements per section 6.1 for relief for minimum off-street parking requirement as well. With 4 conditions again. The first one is that there will be off-site snow removal required, that the applicant will work with fire department to provide acceptable swept path plan, and that will provide 2 shade trees, minimum 2.5-inch caliper, and bike racks will be provided as well.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Hovey. Can we roll call, please?
Chairman Peck,
Approve a condition.
Member Callahan,
Approve of conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Member Hovey,
Approve.
Member Nickerson.
Approve.
Marlowe, you've been approved.
Thank you.
Wish you the best of luck.
Yeah. Be a good project.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. So best of luck. Thank you again. Thank you for coming out tonight, folks. All right, moving on to other business. We have minutes for approval, minutes from November 13th, 2023. Do we have any edits, comments, revisions from my colleagues? Seeing none, can we have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Through me, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for November 13th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McCarthy to approve the minutes, second by Mr. Brier. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Any other comments by my colleagues before we move forward with the motion to adjourn?
Welcome back to Mr. Briere. I thought he left.
Welcome back, Ms. Brier. Any other comments by my colleagues before we have a motion to adjourn? Seeing none.
I'd just like to say what a tremendous parade we had in the city this past weekend. What a great thing to see the city back hosting such wonderful events.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. All right. Any other comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
A motion by Mr. McCarthy to adjourn.
Second by Hovey.
Second by Mr. Hovey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you and have a good night, folks.